We've got some strategist changes coming in Season 2.5 for Marvel Rivals. So let's talk about what's changing and what I think about it. Luna Snow's ultimate is getting another nerf, with 500 more energy needed to be able to unleash it. That's now up to 5,000 energy, which sounds insane to me, but it is still the strongest healing ultimate in the game. With its mobility, healing, and damage amp, it is still a crazy ultimate, and we're going to see if this finally rests in a place that the devs feel comfortable. To make up for that, her base healing is going up by 10%. As well, whenever she hits a target with her freezing orb, she's now going to gain 50 bonus health per target hit. This really boosts her survivability and makes her be able to handle divers a little bit better if she can land that CC on them. I do think buffing Luna Snow's general kit is a good way to keep her more relevant in the game when you're giving her those constant nerfs to that ultimate, which is super strong and impactful, but we don't want taking over games. For basic changes, Rocket is getting a change to his healing. The initial heal from his orbs is reducing from 55 down to 50, so he's not going to have nearly as much healing output. He's also being majorly changed by the changes in Teamups, and that's going to really throw him into a bit of turmoil state right now while players try and figure out how to take the best advantage of the new changes. But we'll talk about that in the Teamup section. The final strategist being changed is Jeff the Shark, who's getting a major rework this patch. They're really trying to make it so that Jeff feels like something that they're able to buff and keep relevant, where the current state of Jeff is something that if he's ever strong, he's too strong and not manageable from the enemy team, and that has to keep him in a really weak state to be relevant. The Jeff community is not excited about this from what I've seen, but I do think that this will help them lead him into a safer state that's going to see him receive more buffs and become more relevant in the game. First off, his basic attack now is going to deal damage to enemies if it collides with them. Dealing 70 damage per second to the first enemy hit, that's pretty close to the amount of damage that Cloak can deal when he's channeling into enemies. If Joyful Splash doesn't hit an enemy and instead hits an ally, it now pierces allies and goes through them, able to heal multiple targets. This is going to greatly boost Jeff's ability to keep a whole party alive, where right now he can only heal through an ally if he's managed to fully heal that target and then begins healing the next target. This is going to allow him to heal multiple allies at the same time, and if your team stays grouped up and clumped, Jeff is going to be super powerful healer. To make up for this, there is a slight reduction in his healing on a single target. He's now going to heal 130 health per second instead of 150. His secondary fire is getting a change. It's no longer going to be a 8 ammunition ability that reloads on his regular reload. Instead, it's going to be a 3 charge ability that regains a charge every 3 seconds. And it's now also going to have a knock-up effect. When it hits a target, it's going to slightly knock them up in the air, which is going to give him more control over enemies and a lot of ability to disrupt the enemy team. Since now he can't spam 8 into a single target, it is also getting an increase in its damage from 40 to 45. Next up is his healing bubbles. Now instead of giving a burst of instant healing, they're going to apply a healing over a time effect to the target. So now instead of 80 instant healing, it's 120 healing over 4 seconds. The number of charges that he can hold up at one time is being nerfed down to 3, and these bubbles will no longer knock up his enemies that are nearby when he pops them. The knock-up effect has clearly been moved over to his alternate fire, so he still has the ability to knock enemies up. It's just not going to be on the bubbles, which was already a kind of clunky mechanic. The next change is to his dive, hide and seek. Right now, he can dive indefinitely and can just keep going and receives constant healing and damage reduction. He's now basically going to have a fuel bar for his dive, where he can only dive for a certain amount of time that he can hold his breath for. This means Jeff is going to spend a lot less time zipping around as a little fin and has to be popped up a little bit more often. This severely reduces his survivability and is going to make that super pesky flanking Jeff that cannot be killed much easier to deal with. The combination of being able to deal more damage to him when he's healing from one of the bubbles because he doesn't get that instant 80 health, as well as the fact that he can't stay dived down forever, is really going to make Jeff more manageable if he manages to get into your back lines. His ultimate ability is getting a new effect. If he swallows up allies and begins healing them, if he heals them to maximum HP, he's then going to start applying bonus HP to them. So when he spits them out, they're going to have a chunk of bonus HP if he's managed to heal them up to full. Jeff's ultimate is not often used to heal his allies, and I think this is a little bit of a total change to be able to kind of get players to think about using this ability more often to save low health allies and get them healed back up and spit them out at a safe moment, rather than only used to just try and eat up enemies and jump off a cliff. His ultimate is also getting 500 increased energy needed to activate it due to this new healing effect on it. And finally, Headshot damage to Jeff is getting a severe nerf. He currently has a 50% reduction in damage taken from headshots, and that's going up to a 70% reduction, making headshots very ineffective against Jeff. This is a nerf to how Jeff is currently played, and is going to force you into being more of a heal bot for Jeff, which I think a lot of players are disappointed about. Having strategists that work a little bit differently was exciting, and Jeff was one of those options that really made it feel different. But I definitely see the lack of game health from flanking Jeff and the frustration playing against him. When it's not fun to play against a thing is when that thing needs to be changed, and we're seeing Marvel Rivals really focus on trying to keep things fun for both the player of the character as well as who they're going up against. When Jeff can easily 1v1 almost any duelist and strategist and escape if he ends up getting in trouble with almost certainty when played properly, it is very frustrating. They wanted to give him more weaknesses and make it so that you could kind of play against him a little bit better, and I think this is actually going to be pretty healthy. Let's talk about the strategist changes from Teamups. Start it all off, Jeff and Luna Snow are no longer teaming up, no more icy balls from Jeff. I very rarely saw this team up being used these days, and I don't think this is too much of a change. Jeff is getting 2 new team-ups. First, he gains a team-up from Venom. Venom can now empower Jeff to have a new tether ability that he latches on to allies nearby and is able to heal them over time. Just further improving Jeff's ability to heal groups and giving a cool interaction where he has to tether to allies and then stay near them to keep them healed up. I really like this team up. Jeff and Storm get a shared team up. When they're both in the game and they both ultimate at the same time, Storm's ultimate is going to become a Jeff Nado, which will suck enemies into its center, swallow them up with Jeff to start dealing damage over time, and then spit them out at the end. It's a fun, really interesting ultimate that has a lot of exciting potential behind it. Rocket is getting a new team up with Penny. This is going to allow it so that when Rocket throws out his BRB beacon, it's going to spawn out spider mines. This gives the beacon a little bit of self-defense, making it so that if melee enemies try and get in on it and destroy it, they're going to be taking damage from these mines. And allies that get dived on can move towards the beacon to get some protection from these mines as well. Finally, you can set up this beacon where Penny has locked down, and now there's going to be more mines in that area for enemies to have a harder time to enter into, and allies should resurrect rather safely within a field of a lot of spider mines. It's a cool interaction, and I think Penny Rocket is going to become a really mandatory pickup if you're playing either of those characters. Luna and Hawkeye are teaming up, which gives Hawkeye a new icy arrow, which we'll talk about in the duelist video, but also increases all of Luna's healing by 15%. This is going to be pretty noticeable, and I think is part of the reason why your ultimate is getting that increase in energy, because the 15% increase healing during your ultimate is going to be even more insane. Rocket is losing his team up with Punisher. There's no longer going to be unlimited ammo happening. I think this is actually really good for game health. I think unlimited ammo Punisher was frustrating to play against and was really hard to be able to interact with. It became an absolute force that there was very little that you could counter against, and I don't think it was very good. Removing this, I think, is really healthy. Luna Snow and Iron Fist team up is getting a reduction in its damage. So when these two are paired up, she's not going to be able to do as much damage knocking enemies away. I don't think the damage was really the appeal to this, so this didn't really shake anything up. Where Invisible Woman's team up is getting a nerf, adding 5 seconds to the cooldown for it to be able to be activated for all of the other Fantastic Four members. This is only really going to affect the top ends of play, as I don't really see anything in mid or low range using this team up every 20 seconds, so the increase to 25 shouldn't really see that much of a change. Those are all the changes that are coming to Strategist in this season. I think the Jeff changes are going to be what we really don't know is how it's going to play out or what it's going to do to the meta. The rest of the changes aren't particularly significant, and I don't think we're going to see a huge tonal shift in the Strategist role this season. Let me know what you think about the changes down in the comments below. I'm Zesty Fresh with Saza Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.